What's up, everybody? It's your boy D Max. So let's talk. All right. So, in this society that we're in right now, we have a lot of people who will feign disdain for certain types of behavior, but in all actuality, they care less about that behavior and they're really more accepting of that behavior than they let on. And I want to address that a little bit because the pedophilia is growing at a rapid rate in the United States. Uh, and we used to see it through the family dynamic, but now we're seeing more and more sex trafficking. And so the whole concept of sex trafficking started out, if anybody wants to be honest and really wants to have an honest conversation about this, it started out with our government, all of our lawmakers, and those people in high places calling it a conspiracy theory. Oh, that's crazy. No one would go through all of this trouble to kidnap children for the simple sole purpose of having sexual escapades with these children. It was called the conspiracy theory. People who said this and claimed this were called crazy, namely David Icke. David Icke was one of the main people who championed this whole concept and this whole theory of child trafficking. And he had names and he had receipts, but nobody wanted to believe him and they said that he was crazy. And now you fast forward 20 years later, here we are with the main subject in our society today, or the leading subject in our society today: sexual crimes against children through sexual trafficking and prostitution. So it's been true all along. But because the masses didn't want to believe it and they wanted to be in denial, millions of children suffered at the hands of these predators. And they're continuing to suffer at the hands of predators because these people still want to be in denial. Well, they're not in denial. No, I take that back. They're not in denial. They just want to cover up now because they realize that they can no longer deny the fact that this is real and this is happening. And this is a global network. It's not far fetched and it's not made up and it's not a conspiracy theory. Now they have to acknowledge the truth of it and the reality of sexual trafficking and pedophilia. So now what they're going to do is they're going to single out certain people and make it seem like they never knew what was going on and they're just so appalled and they're so oblivious to what's been going on. When in actuality, they all know very well, especially in the entertainment industry. And, you know, we've seen time and time again where the actors and actresses will come out and they'll tell stories and then they'll be labeled as crazy and people will dismiss them and just go on about their business, and now that person's been blackballed or they're a pariah and things of that nature. But now so many are starting to come out with their stories and so many are starting to have credibility that you can't just deny it anymore. You can't just sweep it under the rug anymore. And the Me Too movement, which came out in support of exposing these pedophiles and perverts within the entertainment industry, is really just a policing force that is used against actors and actresses and entertainers who get out of line and need to be put back in their place. They'll have Me Too sick on them. and it's been weaponized and used to keep those people in line because they know that they all indulge in that type of behavior. And so they've all got something dangling over their head that can be used as leverage against them to keep them pushing a certain narrative for the people that are in power above them. So, when you look at it from that aspect, you're going to understand that, pedophiles have been all throughout our society from day one. There hasn't been a time in the history of man's creation that there has not been pedophiles in our families. A lot of people, when they were kids, they didn't understand why they couldn't be around Uncle So and so by themselves. They couldn't understand why there were certain family members who wouldn't be around the family. They didn't understand why there was certain animosity and tension between certain family members. A lot of this stems from this pedophilia, this molestation, all of these things that are so commonplace, but yet they're so taboo, and people are afraid to talk about them because they don't want to expose those family members because otherwise, then besides their sexual perversion issue, then they probably are a pretty good person. I think I heard a comedian say something once. It was, matter of fact, it was Dave Chappelle. Shout out to Dave Chappelle. Say it's kind of like that uncle who pays your way through college but molests you. It's one of those types of deals, and so people will end up protecting the predators, and the family will shield that predator as long as they can keep it from getting out. And so that action right there, or inaction, specifically shows that they are more willing to accept pedophilia, because this person does not need to be out in society around people, but they will still have these girls out here at the mercy of that person because they're so selfish and don't want to do what's right, and have that person incarcerated, institutionalized, away from society to where they can't hurt somebody else. And that's a selfish, emotional gratification thing, because they feel like they're doing the right thing by that person, but they're doing the wrong thing by every victim that that person victimizes. And so they're accepting of pedophilia. They're more accepting of pedophilia than they are disapproving of pedophilia. And this is the problem. This is why it's going to continue to get more intense. This is why pedophiles are going to become more bold. And this is why they feel like they have an entitlement to exercise their sexual alternative lifestyle as well, out in the open. Pedophilia is accepted by society way more than society wants to let on. That's the absolute truth, and society knows it. The proof is in the pudding, and the results do not lie. And we're seeing the results of how people really feel about pedophilia, because there's nothing being done about it. Nobody's speaking out about it. The pedophiles are speaking louder than the people who are supposedly against it. The pedophiles are working harder to get what they feel are their entitlements based on their emotional or their sexual lifestyle choice. They're fighting harder than people are fighting against it. So what do you expect the outcome to be? I hear some people be like, "Oh, well, Yahweh is gonna take care of it. I just put it in Yahweh." No, Yahweh uses us to make these things happen. He uses us as a mouthpiece to speak out. that our voice would be the one that would spark the actions in the people who can make things happen. That's how that goes. We don't just stick our head in a hole and wait for God to wave a magic wand over the situation and make it better. No, he uses people to go in and do the work. He inspires people within their hearts to be motivated to go in and do the work, to be the support system, to be the mouthpiece, to be whatever is needed within that structure to push forth what God would have you to do. We don't just give it up to God and walk away and expect him to sprinkle some fairy dust across it. That's not how it works, but that's what some people think. Or that's the cop out that they'll use so that they don't have to confront anything. But as long as you turn a blind eye and as long as you act like it don't exist, it's going to continue to grow bigger and bigger and bigger until you definitely can't handle it then. And it's really going to cause some damage then because you've allowed it to gain momentum when you had the ability to slow it down ahead of time. So, yeah, I say it. I say it once, I say it twice, I say it three times. This society that we live in accepts pedophilia more than it rejects pedophilia. And it is shown and proved in the rapid growth of pedophilia within the United States. And it is shown through the inaction of those who claim to be against it. So until I see a change in that, then my stance is going to be my stance, regardless of what anybody says and how they feel about it. Because my views are never based off of how somebody feels, nor is it dictated by how somebody feels about what I said. If you don't like what I said, then you have to do the research to try to disprove what I said. That's the only remedy for that. And I do not apologize for the term determinations that I come to or the things that the conclusions that I come to. Can't do it, especially if I feel like I'm right and all of the information and that I have is pointing towards me being right. I'm not gonna apologize for that ever. So take it with a grain of salt. And if you feel some type of way about it, then I suggest you get up and start to do something about it if it really make you feel some type of way. Because if me expressing that it's taking place makes you feel some type of way, then you should feel even that much more intense about the action that is really taking place, giving me something to talk about. It's just that simple. So I'm gonna go ahead and get off here. I just wanted to put that out there for the people to chew on for a moment and just understand that we're under this attack. And if you don't want pedophilia to be prevalent, if you don't want pedophilia to continue to show its face boldly as it does right now, then I suggest that all of those who claim to be opposed to it start to figure out how you're going to outwork the pedophiles because they're working 24/7, they're networking 24/7 to make sure that they're able to get what they desire while y'all just sitting back, shaking your head. Mm-mm-mm. So what's it gonna be? You have a choice to make. But don't sit here and complain about pedophiles and talk about how disgusting they are and how sick they are and how they need to be in hell and how they need to burn and all of those insults and all of that hell that y'all wish on those people, but you're not willing to say or do nothing about it when they right in your family. Keep your mouth shut if you're not willing to start at home with it. So I'm gonna leave it at that. This is your boy D Mac, man. Y'all know what I say. Sticks and stones can break your bones, but the word can always heal you. I'm out.